that I started to move away from this here, because this book has been selling every day. Just about every day it's been selling.
Mm-hmm. So where is it available?
It's available at my office.
Okay.
You can get something at the bookmark.
Okay.
But mainly at my office.
And your office is located?
It's located at 17A Brunswick Street.
Okay.
Just up from Leopards Club. It's the 5-story building in the corner.
Tell your staff that they can get a broom handle and whoop me, because I'm going to ask you what's the telephone contact number, even and notwithstanding understanding how they were inundated last time.
Yeah, right? They can call the office. It's 295-7444.
295-7444.
Correct. If they give the office a call and let them know they're coming beforehand, what I will try and do is to sign the book for them.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's why I want people. So why I want people to come in my direction is because I can sign the book for them. I may be very well in reception when they get there, and they can ask me a few questions. And so I like to be on hand.
That's great. That's great.
So in selling this book here, I decided I'm going to move on to write another book.
You're kidding?
But hold on a second. No. Don't get excited yet. Don't get excited yet. So the book was going to be on property.
Okay.
Because that's the other area I specialize in.
Right.
And I said, no, you know what? This gentleman came by and he said, Mr. Trott should take all those stories that he's got left over and write a sequel to this book called And the Drama Continues.
Wow.
So I said, that's interesting.
I
sat back and I even built on the idea.
Okay.
What I did is, what I'm doing right now, and it should drop in October, is a book entitled And the Drama Continues, but it talks about probate. So now you would have the two together.
Converging.
Right, estate planning and what happens in probate.
Now explain the legality definition or the legal definition of probate. Probate.
Yes.
What does that actually mean for those of us that might not fully understand?
Well, I'm going to put it in layman's terms.
Okay.
When the person passes away, we now need to get his or her assets out of her name.
Or his name.
Into the beneficiaries' names.
Gotcha.
There is a process. It's a legal and financial process. We have to determine, was there a will? We have to determine what bank accounts they have, if they had any insurance policies, et cetera, et cetera. So if you look in the newspapers on a daily basis, you'll see adverts at the back where we're advertising for whether it's letters of administration or grant or probate or creditors or whatever.
Right.
That is part and parcel of that process.
And that's on the death of an individual. Gotcha.
But before I get into that, so I'll just take you to this here. So as far as our website is concerned, we are developing two areas, and on one side we're almost there, on the other side we're still working with it.
Okay.
So on one side we're doing all the adverts that relate to this topic. For example, grief counselors, it could be funeral homes.
So it's a source and database for information.
Correct. So it's a source, that's correct. Now on the other side, which is very interesting, but we have to wait until it warms up.
Okay.
We're doing a podcast. No, but this is the exciting part about it. Why I get excited?
Okay.
We're going to start off with 25 people. Now, they're not necessarily famous in our country. Some of them are everyday people.
Okay.
But they have a story to tell.
Yes.
So that's the topic. It's tell your story.
Good, bad, and indifferent?
Good, bad, and indifferent.
Okay.
But you got 20 minutes to tell your story. And you got 20 minutes.
Right. And then you will then feed and pose questions.
Right. And so what it is, when you go onto the website, you go into that link.
Okay.
And that link will take you to the 25.
And what is the website address?
That's going to be the same address as I've got now, which is www.perrytrott.com.
Oh, easy. www.perrytrott.com.
Right. So on that side there, so you can go on and listen to a person's story.
That's awesome, Perry.
So let us say, for example, and just to give you an example, if I have Brenda Forden, former speaker, if I have him there, he's got 20 minutes to tell a story.
Right.
The problem with people like that is they need a whole lifetime to tell that story.
With the incredible experiences and stories that they've had. Yeah.
There you go.
During the course of their journey.
So that's what we're developing now.
Yeah, okay.
And as I said, I'm hoping the aim is to drop the book by the month of October.
Self-published again?
Yes, self-published.
Awesome. That is great.
The reason why I'm doing a self-publish and the reason why I bring in the books, I don't encourage people to go onto Amazon.com because you can get the book here cheaper.
Okay. Because there's shipping costs added to the price of the book and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So those that might be a little less financially endowed, it would make more practical sense for them to get the more inexpensive copy of the book.
Right. And one last thing I would say on that. Now, the seed for Tell Your Story comes from, now there's a lady in the newspaper, I know you know this person very well, or you would at least know her husband, Lionel Simmons.
Ah, yes.
So her name is Cecily Simmons.
Yeah.
And she writes an article, as you know, in the newspapers.
Yes.
So it was a very good story she had on black bakers about a week or so ago.
Recently, yeah.
So when she writes her stories now, I take those stories and I sit in a corner, a cup of tea, and I take my time to read them. Okay. And I said, this is interesting. I mean, I'm fascinated by the history in Bermuda that's not being told.
Yes, right.
And I'm doing a campaign right now, it's an indirect campaign, to say to her, please put all those stories in a book and just so we can read them. Just put all the stories, the newspaper clippings in a book, and we can read them.
That would be wonderful.
I'm doing a campaign, and I'm hoping it's going to work.
I think it would, because it's not like she has to reinvent the wheel. She just has to compile everything, right?
That's
and then you would be able to give her any information relative to publishing that she might be interested in having, and then you have the legal expertise behind you to protect her.
Let me tell you something. The lady has a walk-in history, so she might have the experience and tell me how to put a book together.
Now, trust, Barry.
Yes.
That is a very involved situation. People that have accumulated a significant level of wealth, property, and other assets, they sometimes feel it is worthy of considering a trust as opposed to just a common will, because the benefits from, or that the trust provides the inheritors is so substantial. Speak to that, and when someone should or should not consider, and what the better options might be, because I hear various different descriptions of trusts. I hear blind trust and other trusts. So give us the gamut of trusts as they apply to certain scenarios that people may want to consider as options.
Okay, so let me talk about it, and you're right, there's several types of trust, but I want to turn my mind to two.
Okay.
A lot of people would like to create a trust within a will. Now, what that is this.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, but let me show you why it's called that. It's because, let's say I go in with two children, two minor children.
Okay.
And I want to create my will. I want to make provisions for these two children.
Right.
The minor children. What happens if I die before they do? I would like for my trustees, who I've identified in my will, to hold those assets in trust, and if necessary, to sell the one of the assets or the main assets, taking the money and apply it to the benefit of those children till they reach a certain age. A lot of people are also 18, 21, 25, but that right there would be in a simplistic way a will trust.
Okay.
What most people refer to as a trust is where they take the assets, put it in a trust. Trustees will be appointed, obviously.
Right. And
they're usually discretionary trusts, meaning that the discretion is left to the trustees as to how they manage those assets. Now, bear in mind, you no longer have control. Your control is now with your trustees, but your assets are in trust. Now, the beauty about that is that that's what we consider to be platinum of the estate planning. You don't have to ever worry about probating and what have you.
Okay.
But the problem,
which is, I suppose, equating to a little less maintenance of the trust as far as expense is concerned.
But that's the issue. If you put your assets in that trust, you're now going to appoint trustees.
Right.
Generally, people appoint either individuals or they appoint a trust company.
Who makes the better profile of a trustee that people should consider? Because assets you worked all your
I
life to
know.
accumulate,
I
right?
know.
And someone could breach that very word, trust, and there's a trust deficit.
Right. So when you're picking someone to be a trustee, you generally pick someone who's financially savvy,
Okay.
has some exposure to trust, have a clear idea as to how they work, because they can end up being sued by the beneficiaries if they make mistakes.
Gotcha.
So it's wise to be very careful as to how you pick your trustees as individuals.
And and maybe that's why many would consider experts in the legal profession.
Well, there you go. So the problem now is that given the changing legislation and the regulatory environment that we're in now, a lot of individuals don't want to be trustees. They say, you know what, no, I'd
Too much
rather not.
exposure.
It's too much exposure,
Okay.
too much work, particularly if you've got a mortgage there.
Right.
The bank is coming back to ask for more information, whether it's
Right.
KYC, which is know your client, or various other document resolutions that they need.
So would you not be able to protect against such liabilities through D&O, directors and officers liability for trust?
No, that's different. That's something different.
Okay.
If I'm confused, that's
Okay.
very different. But
All right.
so you can have individuals as your trustee.
Right.
You can have a company appointed as the trustee. The only drawback there is a financial one for most people, and that is every quarter or every annually, or so often they have to pay trustee fees.
Is that based on the amount of the benefits?
Absolutely.
Or-
No, it's based on the assets under trusteeship. So it
Gotcha.
could be, some people could charge 0.5%, some can charge 1%. You'd have to shop around and see what the trust companies will. And we have several trust
Or the
companies
law
in
firm.
Bermuda.
Yeah.
Well, law firms don't do it as much, but
Okay.
you would go, generally, trust companies, some law firms do still have their trust companies,
Okay.
some don't.
Okay.
But
Does
generally,
Duncan have a?
no, we don't have one anymore. We
Okay.
decided to step out of that and just concentrate on our passions.
Got you.
Right. So in Bermuda, though, unless you have a lot of assets, and I mean a lot of assets, a trust is something you would consider. But most people in Bermuda, I find, have a house, money in the bank,
Right.
maybe a boat here and there. Well, as of 2005, as I told you, the legislation was introduced in 2005, the exemption. If you designate that house as your primary family homestead,
Yes.
you'll be exempt from paying death tax.
Right.
So that's a great way for the next generation to be able to live in the house and not have to concern themselves about finding death tax
Upon inheritance.
upon inheritance. So that's what most people have in Bermuda.
Gotcha.
So to even consider doing a trust is a non-starter. Unless there's a specific, unique reason. Generally, most people, as I said, have one house, and so they normally go for will. And that's economically beneficial because...
Pragmatic, yeah.
Right, because they're only paying for and I'll give you an example, they're paying for the will, and they're paying for the primary family homestead.
Okay.
But in a trust situation, you're going to pay to convey your property into the trust, that's stamp duty and legal fees.
And then for it to be managed.
And then for it to be managed. So you got to really give consideration to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like a no-brainer as far as consideration on the process of elimination, as far as what the costs comparatively would be comparing one to the other as
Yeah.
far as options is
That's
concerned. Yeah. So now, you have young people who might be first-time homeowners or, pretty much well endowed financially because they're in a very comfortable situation with respect to the level of experience and expertise that has provided them the opportunity to enjoy a good job, top-notch salary. They've decided to invest in real property.
Yeah.
And they're not thinking about anything happening because they're young, they're healthy.
Right.
What would you suggest as an attorney? Because I'm sure you've seen so many different scenarios, which would be part of this makeup of the stories, where, people that are not expecting anything that would be hitting the family, blind side, involving the death of a loved one, where there is, assets in the name of those that have passed, but those assets aren't wholly owned. there's still a mortgage on the asset, etc.
So when they come in to see me, so this is the beauty of practicing in probate and estates and wills and what have you, and also property. So when you come in and you're buying your property, we're going to talk about a range of things. We're going to talk about ensuring that you have a primary family homestead and put in place.
Right.
We're going to ensure that you have a tight estate plan in place as well, because people assume that they're young, so they don't need it right now, but you'll be surprised at what happens. I've had situations
Road traffic accidents?
Yeah, I've had a situation where a young couple bought a house. I said to them, do your estate plan now. They said they'll do it later. Young couple.
Yeah.
And the guy had a stroke a few months later.
Couldn't work.
Couldn't work. But the worst thing is, I said to them, why don't you at least put in place a power of attorney, just an enduring power of attorney, so that if anything happens, the wife can access his bank accounts, continue doing business and whatever. They didn't do it. And so they assume that because they're young, it's just not going to happen to them.
Right. Yeah.
And this is where I come in to say to them, I'll tell you what, if I give a discount on these fees here, would you consider it? And they do.
Awesome.
So that's my way of getting them in the door and giving them that control and peace of mind.
That's amazing.
To ensure that, listen, if anything goes wrong, we have our act together.
Yeah.
We have our affairs in order.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I try and do with them as
that
well.
speaks to the professional and the human integrity of you as a practicing attorney whose expertise and forte is in protecting assets of people who've, for the most part, worked very hard for them. There are others that haven't worked at all because they may have been born with a silver spoon. But in Bermuda, that might be few and far between among the people that look like you and I. But for the most part, everyone needs to be comforted.
That's right.
Knowing that their will be exercised upon based on what they have in writing.
Right.
That's ironclad by way of the law relative to trusts and or, of course, wills, personal wills. Yeah.
So what this is, the whole practice has taught me is this. It's okay to apply the law.
Yeah.
And just, that's it. But what I do in my practice is that I look at the human aspect of it as well. So if I've got someone sitting in front of me and they're going to probate an estate, I'm looking beyond that. I'm looking at the person. And if I can see, something, if they're still emotionally destroyed, they can't give instructions.
Right.
I might say, have you checked with a counselor?
Yes.
You're still grieving.
Yeah.
Maybe you might want to go that route first and then come in and give me the instructions. Or I might get a situation where, and I talk about it in my book, where the daughter wanted to write the mother's will. So the mother's coming in and the daughter's giving me the instructions, but the mother's
not necessarily comfortable.
Right. So I asked the daughter in that particular situation to leave the room so I can have a conversation with the mother and take her instructions, which they were entirely different to what the daughter was communicating to me. So there's a number of things that I do, but I mix the law with the human element at this stage in my career, which makes a big difference because you'll get out of that client what they really are trying to achieve, by being realistic about it.
Now, Perry, what about advice you would give to our listeners who would have been diagnosed with an illness, had the intervention to undergo the treatment? It has been determined that the prognosis is not good. It could be as unfortunate as a terminal illness, where that prognosis is what it is, and not much can be done about it. Without a power of attorney, what are the options, or what would you say? Is it ever too late for that to happen? How does people, or should people, go about that in consideration of such a circumstance?
Okay. So anytime in life, if you procrastinate, it's going to be expensive. When it comes time of need, it's going to be expensive. So you procrastinated about getting your power of attorney in order. So now it's a situation where if you would not have procrastinated, it would have cost you a couple of $100. It would cost you maybe $600-700 to get that power of attorney. Now you're in a situation where you can write you're in a situation where you can't give instructions and what have you.
Maybe not even speak.
Not even speak.
Yeah.
So what happens is that your family has to apply to the Supreme Court under the apply to the Supreme Court for receivership order to appoint someone to conduct your affairs for you. Now that can run you a couple of $1,000s. And what I'm trying to say to the...
And could it be more if there are contentions?
Oh, yeah.
So let's say they're siblings, and one of the siblings go through the process, and another sibling counters that because they would like to have the power of attorney because they're at odds.
Absolutely.
Then you've got a quagmire, don't you?
So you have a mess.
Yeah.
So it's always, when you're healthy, to put that power of attorney in place. Make it very clear who you want to conduct your affairs in the event that you ever become physically or mentally incapacitated. And generally, the power of attorney covers financial matters.
Yes.
Then you would have what is called a healthcare directive.
Okay.
That generally covers medical situations. So if you're rushed to the hospital and strokes apparently, I think the statistics maybe a year or 2 years ago was 5 strokes per week, something like that.
Wow,
oh yes, it's very high in our country.
Yeah.
So if you're rushed to a hospital, one of the first things the doctor wants to know, who am I taking instructions from? So if you've got that document, that healthcare directive there, that appoints that person give instructions to the doctor. It makes life so easy. Now, I talk about this in my book as well, where you have a family that has gone down, some sisters, they've gone down. Mother rushed to the hospital. One sister thought she was the best person because she had a nursing degree. Another sister thought she was the best person because she looks after mama. So at the end of the day, it was fighting going on.
And two valid, substantiated reasons.
Absolutely, there you go.
Yeah.
So this is why I am in the community, trying to get people to put these documents in place, these legal documents in place.
In advance of
in
meeting.
Advance, right.
Yeah.
And that's what, and I've turned it in, as I said to you in my last time we met, I've actually turned this into a mission. So it's going beyond just marketing.
That's beautiful.
It's going beyond just, giving out information.
Yeah.
It's an actual mission. And in my practice, and what I've seen over time, and I mean, I talk to some of my colleagues and they say there's been an uptick in their practice as well, as long as people get this sorted out.
That's the critical point. And the thing is that I know you. I know your firm. I know your partner, Delroy. And you guys are as successful as you are because there's always been a compassionate element to the professional services that you provide, always, based on my own personal experience as well. And I commend you guys for that because lots of times it could be to the chagrin of even greater success of the company when you're looking at the human factor and not necessarily always at the material factor. And you know how people generally think about lawyers until such time as they need them.
Right.
And now we're saying, listen, be prudent, be pragmatic, be practical, and based on reason, relative to your particular situation, look to get things in place that protect your assets.
Right.
And also, in so doing, protects the beneficiary who you feel would be entitled to receive those benefits.
Yeah, I always say that in doing that, your legacy is, I had my house in order. But I always tell people, listen, look, this is how I approach life, Glenn, at this stage of my life. The condition for living is dying. So if you know that you're going to die, you're going to start living. And in the process of living, you got to make sure you have your house in order. Part and parcel of that is ensuring that you have these documents in place. Why have leave a family fighting over assets when you could have done a will? Why do you have family fighting at the hospital? Because you didn't have a healthcare directive.
While you're on your deathbed.
There you go. It happens all the time.
I hear. Now, let's look at the dire situation that results because individuals would not heed such advice or, for whatever reason, deliberately do not want a will. I know one thing that results is the manifestation and reality that we see around this island in every parish related to derelict housing.
Yes, yes.
What do you say in response to that?
I speak about that all the time. So in Bermuda, if you die with a will, to me, you've died, haven't had control, and you've got peace of mind because you've set out how you want your assets to be distributed. It minimizes the fights among family members. When you die without a will, that's when the drama begins, and hence the reason I have my book called "And the Drama Begins," because invariably families are going to fight.
Yeah, and soon coming is "And the Drama Continues."
And it's a lot of continuing in that one as well. And that's where the fights begin.
Yeah.
And you have a house there, and somebody says, "Well, I should have it because I took care of my mom when she had Alzheimer's."
Yeah.
The other things, they should have it because it's been in the family for so long. Everybody has their reasons.
Right.
So what happens is nobody wants to contribute to getting the estate probated. They leave the house. People live in and out of there, and before you know it, it falls into a derelict state. And some of these people have moved off island. When it comes time to probating the estate, you can't even find them.
Wow.
You have to search upon search and upon search, and if you can't find them, then the money pretty much is absorbed with trying to find them.
Right.
So this is why it's so important when I tell people, just take a minute, do that will.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, let's leave your legacy being, I have my house in order.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Right.
And one thing I must give kudos to the government for, outside of the primary home, avoiding, not evading, but avoiding the death tax, which could be substantial depending on the size and the ARV, the annual revenue value of the property. They, in consideration, on a humanistic basis, decided, you know what, there are many people, some of which would be, I said, rich and cash poor.
Right.
They may have one or two or maybe three houses, but let's give some relief in being considerate and sensitive to the challenge of the cost that could be borne by inheritors, and has allowed, particularly for those who only have the primary home, just one home, to avoid having to pay the death tax. I think that is such a commendable.
It was awesome. Let me tell you something, Glenn. When I started this practice, or came back from school, it was painful.
Yeah.
To look a widow in the face and say, "Listen, you've got to pay," and the children. You've got to pay about $84,000 in death tax. You've got a choice. You can either go to the bank and see if you can raise a mortgage, or you can get a private loan, or you may have to sell the house. When this was introduced, tax exemption, this exemption, primary family homestead certificate was introduced in 2005. What a relief! Because I can now look people in the face and say, you know what? We've got a primary family homestead.
Yeah.
This is a good way to minimize your death tax.
Yeah.
And there are other little things.
So get it registered.
Get it registered.
Yeah.
Do it now, because the reality is we don't know what the future is going to bring.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I always encourage people, let's just get it now.
Yeah. And now with that policy being extended, where the government is looking to say to those where their probate is still existing, where there's been no settlement, listen, we will identify these derelict properties. We will invest in refurbishing them where they could be habitable, and then the rent will offset what we've invested. As soon as that is offset, what has been invested in getting them up to habitable condition, then it returns back to you without you having made any investment, only having to make the sacrifice to get the house back into the inventory of housing. And right now we have an incredible challenge with housing.
I know. I support any initiative that's going to deal with this housing situation.
And refurbishing the ones that are derelict.
Yes, because you know something, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I've seen this cycle before, and housing is a huge problem in our country right now. So any type of relief from any type of, whether it's from government or whether it's from other avenues, to give relief, particularly just Bermudians need homes right now.
But the thing that's so ironic, Perry, is that there's this anecdotal, because we don't have data, of people emigrating. Not immigrating so much, but emigrating it would be nice to see where the balance lies on the people that are going versus the people that are coming. Because if the people are going and they are in standalone homes, that means there should be inventory available where they've vacated. But then if there is international guest workers coming in to fill them homes, well, we need to know that, to know what is the ideal number of houses that we should be always having in our stock that is the correct balance. I haven't heard much talk about that, and there's not the data. So thank God there's soon to be, my understanding, a census that should give us some level of the numbers as it relates to those two different dichotomies, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I'm a strong believer in statistics anyway.
Yeah.
Simply because that will give you a snapshot of where we are at any time of the day. Whether it's your business, outside of business, and whatever. I'm a strong believer in getting as much data as possible. Right. So if it's an avenue that can bring us that information, by all means, we need to tap it.
Let's have it.
Yeah.
297-1027, folks. You may have a comment of encouragement or congratulatory wish or a question that has yet to be answered during the course of this conversation that you would be invited at this time to share with our in-studio guest, Mr. Perry Trott, partner in Trott & Duncan, one of Bermuda's leading attorneys in one of Bermuda's leading legal firms. He's here now. He's accessible, 297-1027. There is also issues that just crop up without expectation. So people have joint ownership.
Oh, yes.
And that could be contentious because there's been a divorce, but there has not been any estate planning with respect to the assets. So the assets are still held by both individuals that aren't in the relationship anymore.
Right. So let me just say this to you. So if the property is jointly held, what that means in Bermuda is joint tenants, it's called. So if it's a husband and wife, what it means is if, say, for the husband passes away, the house, by operation of the law, would automatically go to the wife.
Right.
In this situation, for example, the house is owned by, let's say, the wife, and she does a will, leaving the property to the husband, and then she subsequently divorces the husband. The law is very clear. He automatically gets carved out of that will.
Oh, really?
So, yes, really. So that's why.
So she's left in the will, the husband as the benefactor.
Yes, right.
They get divorced, and it automatically reverts.
No. What happens is she needs to go back and do another will.
Oh.
Because if she passes away, and it's just her husband she had left that property to, and now he's cut out by the law.
It's an abatement.
But correct, so it falls under the Succession Act, 1974.
Gotcha.
So therefore, the law will decide what happens to her assets.
And who would be the inheritors?
We would have to, first of all, look to see whether or not she had
children.
No, but this is not good. So if it's no children, you will look to see if her parents are living.
Oh.
And if it's no children and no parents, you will look to see whether or not her siblings are alive.
Right.
And it goes on down the line.
Right.
And this is why I say this is when the drama really begins, because a lot of
this is where the drama really continues.
Because if you think about it, we sometimes don't get along with our siblings.
Yes.
We would not want our siblings inheriting our property.
Yeah.
But because of the fact that you're not paying attention, you've not gone back and renewed that will or put a will in place, period.
Right.
Then the reality is that those siblings may end up inheriting that property upon your death.
Especially if there aren't any children.
If there's no children.
Right.
If there are children, then the children are the ones that would take precedence.
Now let's talk about that.
Yes.
Because you could have heirs.
Yes.
Right? Without a will. The older child could be a female. And the younger, a male. No will. who's rightfully the inheritor?
We don't do that. I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
The first male child.
The two children share equally. That's it. That's under the 1974 Act.
Okay,
it's
so that was amended.
Right. It's none of this pre-1974.
Gotcha.
No.
A lot of people wouldn't be aware of that.
Yes, and that's true. It's very true. I mean, I still get questions that I think, oh, well, this is pre-1974.
Yeah.
But equality is such that they say, no, you share equally. You're the blood children. You share equally.
Fair.
That's fair.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah. 297-1027. The phones have been ringing, and I haven't even inviting you. I have not taken the call, so I'm going to take the next caller that calls at 297-1027. I do apologize for getting involved in the conversation and ignoring the calls that we've been missing. So you have children now. There's no will.
Right.
Let's say, for instance, you have two children. Mm-hmm. One is 2 years old. One's 3 years old. You take a trip to Europe, and God forbid there's some terrorist activity, and you get caught up in that, and unfortunately, the parents lose their lives.
Right.
No will. How is that handled?
We would look to the Succession Act.
Okay. And
the Succession Act lays out a number of cases that we were looking at. So, as I said, I gave you an example just now with a husband and wife.
Right.
So in a situation like that, the Succession Act would dictate that those children would inherit. And the problem now you have, independent of all this, is appointing the guardians for those children.
For those children, right.
And whatever they would inherit, we've got to make, we've got to put them in a situation where there's someone to at least oversee their inheritance until they reach a certain stage. Obviously, the guardian will need money to maintain those children, so that would be worked out as well.
Okay.
But this is why I always encourage people, particularly when you've got young children, do a will. In that will, you can indicate who you would like to have appointed guardians of your children in the event that the father and I'll explain
for
this
young couples especially. That makes sense, right?
Right, because
of childbearing age.
Right, because if something were to happen to the mother and father, those guardians would step in by virtue of the will. But
and we're not just talking godparents.
No. We're actually talking the people that they've chosen to be guardians
in the will.
Right, but this is the key. Whenever you appoint somebody in your will, whether it's the executor or whether or not it's the guardian or whether or not it's the agent for your healthcare directive, have the conversation first. Don't just assume
Put
that
the
because
responsibility on.
Don't assume because that's my sister, she'll do it. She may not want that responsibility.
Right.
So once you've had the conversation, then we can move forward.
Yeah.
Otherwise, in that,
it could be a redundant exercise.
Exactly.
Because that person, even though named in the will, could refuse.
Exactly.
They can't be made to take on the responsibility.
They cannot. So in the cases, the executor, they can just say, "Look, I don't want this position, and I'll renounce." And so it just leaves you in a
quagmire.
Right.
Yeah. Age of majority. In a similar scenario, I think the legal age of majority is 18.
Yes.
So now, if someone is 18 years old, they would have some say. They wouldn't necessarily need
a guardian.
Yeah. Now, what about somebody who's 17 years and 11 months?
They're not 18 yet.
They're not 18 yet. So when that's a situation, and they've got a whole year to go to be 18, how does the court react to that? Because sometimes in probate it takes longer than a year, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, if once they reach 18, then that can take an effect. Until that time, the guardians still have the guardianship,
and the court will make sure.
Yeah. That's correct.
Who monitors this? Because let's say you make somebody the guardian. And you can find reasons and ways to substantiate using, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 that may have not been the most advisable thing to do. The guardian, do they have accountability?
They do have, and the other thing, there's always a court there as well as the last resort. I mean, people need to speak out. So even like for seniors, for example, if you see a situation where seniors are vulnerable and you want to, you need to speak out. There are ways to do it. There are government offices to do it. There's so many places, resources you can go to alert the powers that be that, listen, there's a serious problem brewing over here, and it needs to be attention.
Now, what if, because, sometimes you have situations that are really difficult to mitigate, where, let's say it's a single child, and you're the best friend of the surviving mother, and that senior citizen has an incredible amount of assets. The best friend has never gotten along with the single child, the solo child, because the solo child has always tried to manipulate the mother in various ways, and there's a manifestation of where the assets have been abused or there's been exploitation, and you want to get involved to protect your friend who's a senior, but you got this really contentious child. How do you approach that kind of a thing without people accusing you of wanting to get in the business of the family not being a member of the family?
Well, do you want that responsibility? Let's start that off. Do you want the responsibility? If you don't want the responsibility, I mean, there's again avenues, social services, et cetera, but
right. So you just make a call, and you could give an anonymous tip for there to be an investigation.
Yeah, that happens all the time, where people call up and say, "Listen,
I suspect,
and this is a situation." That's the beauty about how far we've come with the law and with the institutions.
Okay,
we don't sit back anymore and just wait till something happens. We find ways to effectively communicate. Look, there's a concern over here. There's avenues we can have this investigated.
Right.
You just have to act on it.
Gotcha.
And some people will sit back and do nothing, whilst others will say, no, I'm going to do something. And it may just turn out that what you've done and what you suspect is
saved
correct.
a situation.
Saved the situation, yeah.
So in closing, Perry, is there anything from your experience, legal expertise, that you feel hasn't gone far enough or hasn't yet been considered that you think would be warranted or a good consideration for the powers that be to look at as far as legislative policy is concerned? Right.
So one of the things that I always wonder if consideration could be looked at with respect to the Succession Act and what happens when people die without wills.
Gotcha. Lots of room for improvement.
Well, we haven't had any real substantial improvement since 1974. So given that it's almost 40 years, 50 years, I think it's time on the horizon to sort of maybe look at different jurisdictions to see how they're dealing with situations like that.
Gotcha.
So as we go along, I can see that, but give it time.
Okay.
It's only a matter of time before things change. And people, and you know something, people are becoming more in tune as to what's going on.
Sure.
They know that, look, I got to get my bill done. I got to do this here.
Gotcha.
So with realization, and taking into consideration that change is coming in every respect.
Sure.
They'll change with this as well.
I think there would be generic, across the board, accepted best practices. So with that in mind, through your curiosity, you discovered precedent-setting situations in other jurisdictions that Bermuda might be well advised to maybe have a look at or to consider on merit, whether it would be appropriate to our particular circumstances?
No, not yet. I mean, I've been so busy just concentrating on our jurisdiction, and that I do know there's things that in the United States, for example, that they have to consider, but we're not there yet.
Right. Okay.
So, in the context of what we've got, it works for us. But again, there's room for improvement in terms of looking at certain parts of the legislation.
Our very special in-studio guest this afternoon has been attorney Perry Trott of the law firm Trott & Duncan. With the calls that were coming in and I didn't take, I would assume that because of the substantive questions I've been asking. You've kind of answered much of what people may have wanted to call about to get an answer. So I don't consider that to be much to do with me, but more to do with you in providing the answers to the questions. So I take this opportunity to thank the esteemed attorney at law, barrister, attorney, Perry Trott of Trott and Duncan. Of course, Perry, give information again with regard to the website, the telephone number, the title of the book, and where that book would be available if they want to get it personally autographed.
Right. So the book is And the Drama Begins. You can get it at my office, which is at Trott and Duncan. It's at the Trott and Duncan building, which is located on 17A Brunswick Street. It's the 5-story building just in the corner by Leopards Club there.
Yes.
You can contact me on 295-7444, or you can visit my website, which is www.perrytrott.com.
Are you inclined to, at this time, do a shout-out to your eminently competent and qualified staff at Trott and Duncan?
Of course, and I know they're listening. I know they're critiquing, but and I know they're working.
The most important thing, right?
Of course, I give a shout out to them and shout out to the listeners and those in the community that have supported my project and that continue to support. I give a shout out to them as well.
Mr. Perry Trott, our distinguished attorney at law, big shout out from us here at Inter-Island Communications to Trott and Duncan and to his partner, Mr. Delroy Duncan. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Glenn.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now.